Today we're in Munich and we're attempting something a little bit ridiculous. This city has 6 historic breweries nicknamed the Six Sisters, the only ones that are allowed to serve beer at Oktoberfest, and people say that hitting all 6 in one day is the ultimate Munich challenge. So naturally, we said yes. Will we make it through the Six Sisters, or will Munich take us down first?
Germany does not play around.
There's only one way to find out. Let's get tipsy, y'all.
So we're gonna do our best to try to say these German words correctly. Please be kind in the comments. You know, we are learning Italian, which is already hard enough. English is our first language, which I barely speak correctly.
Unflame, what's the word? Burn out?
Please be kind, we appreciate it.
The Six Sisters are Augustiner, Hacker-Pschorr, Hofbräu, Löwenbräu, Paulaner, and Spaten. They became the official 6 because they brewed within Munich's historic city limits and followed the famous Reinheitsgebot rules, or the German purity law from 1516, which originally restricted beer ingredients to only water, barley, and hops.
Over time, these breweries became the backbone of the Bavarian beer, and when Oktoberfest formalized its standards, only these 6 were allowed to pour. Today, they still hold that exclusive right, which is why you will only ever see their tents at Oktoberfest, even though Munich has newer craft breweries too. Together, they represent the classic styles that define Bavarian beer, from the crisp Hells to the rich Dunkel to the iconic Oktoberfest beers that show up every fall. And lucky for us, they all have beer halls that you can easily get to in Munich. Just got dropped off for stop number 1.
We started at Paulaner because it is the most southern stop, and we're going to be working our way back north today. Now, Paulaner's story starts with friars at a monastery in the early 1600s. During the fasting seasons, the monks were allowed no solid food, so they brewed Salvator, a beer that is so rich and caloric it became known as liquid bread. And one legend says that the monks felt guilty about enjoying such a hearty beer, so they shipped the barrel to the Pope for his approval. The story goes that by the time it made the long journey in the heat, the beer had spoiled, tasted awful, and the Pope decided it was suitable for penance. So the monks kept drinking, just guilt-free. Today, Paulaner is one of the world's most recognizable Bavarian breweries. Their Hells is crisp and classic, and their Salvator is rich, malty, and strong enough to remind you why the monks considered it liquid bread.
So I decided to go with their Hells, which is perfect and crisp and classic for a reason. This is delicious. I am loving it. And we have a great spread as well. We have pretzels and some cheese, and this place is huge. So their beer garden, it isn't open right now, but it is all decked out for the Christmas theme and a winter wonderland theme, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. So if you're coming, this is definitely a place that you could spend a few hours.
So we have finished our cheese spread and pretzels, which is a great base layer for what's to come today. I just want to talk about my beer. I mentioned this is the Salvator, which is the beer that the monks originally brewed, which they used as a food substitute during the Lent period. I can see why they did that. It's nowhere near as bready as it probably was back in the day, but the right word to describe it. Sam said hearty. It's a good word to describe it. And in this mug, I just feel like I should be across the table from a monk, clanking steins with him. You'll have to be my monk for today.
All right, stop 1 down. So we are going to be walking to the next stop. It's about a 25-minute walk from here, so we will catch you at stop number 2.
A short 20-minute walk north brings us to the Hackerhaus. Hacker-Pschorr's history goes back to the 1400s, but the most charming part comes from the 18th century, involving Teresa Hacker, whose family ran the well-established Hacker Brewery, and Joseph Pschorr, an ambitious young man who was a brewery worker at the time. These two lovebirds married back in 1793, but even though they joined forces as a family, they still kept some family rivalry in play, as Joseph founded the Pschorr Brewery and operated it as a separate brand from the Hacker beer brand. And together, they expanded both breweries into major Munich powerhouses. Not until the 1970s, long after Joseph and Teresa had drank their last beer, did the brands formally merge into what we know today. And today, Hackerhaus sits right where the old brewery buildings used to be, so it's a fun place to imagine what beer making and a little family brewing competition looked like a few centuries ago. Hacker-Pschorr is known for its darker malt-driven beers, but their Keller beer is also a winner if you like something that's unfiltered and a little bit rustic.
On to stop number 3.
Augustiner is Munich's oldest brewery, founded in 1328 inside an Augustinian monastery. Over the centuries, it's survived just about everything from wars and plagues to fires and even the closure of many religious breweries. And it's now the last of the Six Sisters that's still privately owned. Their Hells is known for being crisp, balanced, and incredibly easy to drink. The Stammhaus is one of the best places to try it.
So I'm loving this place. I just wandered around. Chris guarded our beers. More important job. It's incredible. They have so many cool pockets of rooms. And they also have all of their Oktoberfest stuff from this past Oktoberfest for sales. Both of our beers are great. I got the Hells, Chris got the Dunkel. Phenomenal. Both of them are. I'm actually lobbying to take the Dunkel from him. I usually prefer either a Hefeweizen, a Weiss beer, or a dark beer, like a stout. I love stouts. And that Dunkel, that's hitting the spot.
I really like this place. This is stop number 3 on our 6-stop challenge here. This is the first one that's felt like a true beer hall, I feel like. When I think of a German beer hall, it just feels more on brand for a German beer hall. The beer's very, very good. Excited to get into the sausage as well.
That was a lot of fun. I like that spot. Stop 4 is the most dramatically epic building. Wow. I've always wanted a castle.
Keep wanting castles because we're not getting this one.
And maybe this will help me lobby him for a beer castle.
Continuing a bit further north out of the city, we hit Löwenbräu, which traces back to the 1300s. But the fun stories really begin in the 1800s when they built a massive beer hall and decorated it with a mechanical lion that roared and moved its head. During Oktoberfest, the lion on the tent still opens its mouth and lets out a growl. One myth says that the lion was originally so loud it scared horses pulling festival wagons, so they toned it down a bit. Löwenbräu also survived major beer hall fires, a few financial collapses, and a wartime bombing, but the brand always came back swinging and pouring. The Löwenbräu Original is their flagship lager, a classic Munich Hell style, but compared to some of the other Six Sisters that we've had today, it leans a little bit more toward the malty side. You get a slightly sweeter grain profile, a touch of almost breadiness, but still that clean, crisp finish. So on the menu, there's pretzels, which we got 2 of, but there was also a line item that said portion of butter. Oh no, little paper package of butter. Now we know we wouldn't order this again.
This is not a complaint, but a fact. This pretzel is hard, which is very different than the pretzels I feel like we get served in the States, which are usually soft and they're rippable and you dip them in hot cheese. This one is very hard.
Maybe some of your butter would help.
Yeah, my frozen butter. It's frozen. Chris didn't say that to you. This is plain butter. I'm not saying plain as in flavorless. I'm saying plain as an airplane. I'm not complaining. I think it's just managing expectations is all.
We spent a long time at number 4. We're heading to number 5 now.
Okay, we came to Spaten Haus. So here's the deal. This is the only Spaten Haus within downtown Munich. The other one is outside and it's only open on the weekends. We are not here on the weekend. We were really, really hoping this is going to be a beer hall. It is a fine dining restaurant outside of the Opera House, but this might put a very big wrench in our Six Sisters brewery hopping.
Yeah, and we need to do some Googling here to figure out if we can find something that might fill in as Spaten Haus. I don't know. We'll see.
We're going to pivot to stop number 6, which is Hofbräu.
The Hofbräu, yeah.
Hofbräu. It's 5 minutes from here. We're going to go there. We're going to get beers. We're going to ponder our life decisions, and then we will figure out stop number 6.
And our next stop on the Six Sisters Challenge is maybe the most iconic beer hall in the world. Hofbräu began as the royal brewery for Bavaria's dukes back in the 1500s. The rulers were very unhappy with the beer quality in Munich, so they built their own brewery to make something a little bit better. And they did. Hofbräuhaus turned into Munich's most famous gathering place, and history absolutely happened here. Mozart lived down the street and drank here. Lenin was rumored to have visited before the Russian Revolution. Revolution. Political rallies were held here for decades. And there's even a famous story about the Bavarian army trading 600,000 liters of Hofbräu brew to the Swedish forces during the 30 Years' War in exchange for not looting the city, which is just peak Bavarian diplomacy. The place is very loud, very chaotic, it's joyful, and exactly what you picture when you think of German beer culture. And yes, the Oompa band will probably show up and try to get you to drink a little bit more. It definitely is a little bit more of a touristy spot, but I think it's very iconic and worth the stop.
Holy tourist heaven.
Not heaven. Maybe hell. I don't know. If you're coming to Munich and you're trying to go to a beer hall.
Like, that's the most famous one. We are tourist.
We are.
Chris took German all through primary education, which I think is super impressive.
We would say uber impressive.
But no, that's an app. It's very confusing now.
I don't even know if that's right.
So we have to give you a quick flashback. We were in Milwaukee in 2018?
19.
But we ended up there in October at a German beer hall, and that's actually where we had this beer for the first time.
Yeah. I was standing on a bench like, ole, ole, ole.
So this was a fun little flashback. And the reason we know that is because of Untapped. So if you don't follow us, I'll link those below. I think combined we're over 6,000 beers. Okay, so for Spaten. Spaten. Is there a silent H?
There's a spa.
Spa.
Long story short, Spaten does not have a traditional beer hall.
Spaten House at the Opera House. It's like their spot in the city, purely a restaurant. That's not where we're at right now.
Technically speaking, we have failed at going to the Six Sisters Breweries because Spaten was closed. However, we are going to have a Spaten in this city.
Yes. We have 5 hours left to have a Spaten before the end of the day, so I am determined to have a Spaten.
Spaten is known for helping to define the most famous beer festival in the world. Spaten's most defining moment came in 1841 when the brewmaster created the first modern Marzen beer. Until then, Oktoberfest beers were darker and heavier. This new beer style changed Oktoberfest forever and helped spread Munich's lager brewing method across Europe. Spaten also has a quirky symbol, the spade or shovel shape. This symbol is a play on the early spelling of the family Spot, which later evolved into Spaten. When the brewery expanded, the spade became one of the earliest trademarked brewery logos in the world.
This place was great. This was a very local spot. So the goal of this video was to drink all 6 breweries from the Six Sisters. In my opinion, and Chris's, we've succeeded. And honestly, after today, we are kind of tempted to return when those tents go up and the city really comes alive.
So maybe next time you'll catch us here for Oktoberfest itself. If you want more booze-filled travel adventures, make sure you subscribe so you're around for the next one.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.